everybody? It's the Hardy Construction. You can find us at hardyconstruction.tumblr.com, on YouTube, as well as Instagram, with your host Komp and
the Queen of Kings.
Today's film is
Cannibal Holocaust, 1980.
Cannibal Holocaust, 1980. During a rescue mission into the Amazon rainforest, a professor stumbles across lost film shot by a missing documentary crew. Directed by Ruggero Deodato, written by Gianfranco Clerchi, as well as Giancarlo Clerchi. He did the story and screenplay. Why they had to label him twice, who knows? So this is a classic cannibal film that Danny picked this week, and he loved that he picked it. Danny, why'd you pick this film?
Honestly, I wish I hadn't. I feel like traumatized. I saw this movie a really long time ago, like when I was like a kid or like a teenager.
Why? So you saw it a long time ago as a kid and it didn't traumatize you back then?
I guess I wasn't paying attention enough or something, or maybe I saw the edited version where they take out all the animal shit and stuff. I don't know.
Well, hell, I didn't even list a cast, and you don't really see the cast on the IMDb. Although one of them, oh, yeah, there are. Starring Robert Kerman, Francesca Ciardi, Perry Perkanen, Luca Barbieschi, Salvatore Basile, Ricardo Fuentes, and Carl Gabriel York.
The professor is from Brooklyn.
Is he? Oh yeah, I think there's only one U.S. actor in this movie. I guess besides the ones in New York City, because they all spoke the movie in English, but they still dubbed it with American actors.
Yeah,
I think there's only one guy. Oh no, there's actually two American actors. The main crazy American guy that's head of the, I guess, is Alan. Is that the guy who's the filmmaker? Alan Yates?
The one that's the film guy?
Yeah, Carl Gabriel York. He's American. And anyway, but the other guy...
What are you, talking into a different planet?
No, it's just my phone's not working on correctly. Anyway, so the professor that went to go look for him, that guy's actually used to be a pornographic actor.
Really?
Yeah, Robert... He's
got the mustache for it, actually.
Yes, Robert Kerman. I looked all these people up. He played Professor Harold Monroe. And I think he's in a... I was so sad because I read up online like where he is now. And he's like at an assisted nursing facility, which is not entirely... For us, it's pretty sad. But I mean, he's living there now. And then I read it on like Dread Central or some horror news website. And it said, Robert's feeling a little lonely, so maybe you might want to send him letters to show him that you appreciate him. So he's like an old man, like doddering inside of him, and it made me really sad. I was like, oh Lord. Anyway,
imagine he just sits around and watches his old porn.
He watches Cannibal. So anyway, you saw this movie, and you immediately regretted it about 15 minutes in. I remember seeing parts of this film. I actually just was intrigued by that poster with the girl on top of the, what was she, impaled?
Yeah.
Right up the ass, out the mouth. Here's the thing with this movie. When I'm young, I had no idea what the fuck was real or what wasn't real. Especially this type of film. And seeing that image of the girl impaled, I was frightened beyond time. And I ended up eventually seeing it. Maybe, I don't know how old I was, maybe 15 or 14. I saw parts of it. I didn't see the whole film.
Right.
And I saw the sequences where they brutalized the turtle, and I was like, you know what? I don't need to see this movie.
That's one of the worst parts.
And what really got to me is them cutting the turtle up and then like opening the shell, and I was like, okay,
and its legs are still twitching and shit.
The part where it shows its face and its eyes are blinking, for some reason, that's the part that bothered me immensely. Like that really bothered me. Like I can't explain why, but it really fucked up.
Like I eat meat. Like I'm not like a vegan or something, which is fine if you're. But like, oh my god, like.
And I don't care about animals. So I mean, but to see for that to affect me that bad, and I do care about animals. I like dogs.
I don't know. If you're gonna kill an animal, like to fucking eat it, like kill
they did feed the tribes. All the animals that were killed in the movie were actually fed to people, so it wasn't like they did it for no reason.
Real fucking tribes?
No, I don't think those people were tribes, but there's tribes nearby. Obviously, they probably They probably paid like random Amazonian people that were dirt poor, to be in a movie. They were like, "Hey, we'll give you monkey brand."
Yeah, I know. But anyway, I'm saying, like, did they pay the tribes to be in the
ever since I saw that turtle scene, especially anytime I heard there's like a specific sound used in this movie where like that sound. I could never hear that sound ever again without thinking about that turtle's head.
Actually, the one that got me the most was it was the first one where they were cutting open this like weird little muskrat thing.
Yeah, it wasn't a muskrat. It was something else. It's on the IMDb trivia.
Whatever it was, and it's like screaming.
Yeah, for some reason I misremembered how that animal was killed. Because listen, if you haven't seen this movie and you're just listening to this episode for shits and giggles, just because we're talking the history of this film, live animals are killed. There's about 7 or 8 explicit scenes with actual animals getting killed.
I mean, obviously, like rape and cannibalism and murder is all bad too.
That didn't bother.
But like that shit is not real. So I mean,
Danny cheered at the other parts, but the animal stuff, he was offended.
No, I'm just like that stuff wasn't real. It was like actors and makeup and shit. So it's like that's. Yeah,
but I remember I misremembered the first scene because the first scene was the first kill of the animal was that. They call it a muskrat, but on the trivia, I'm gonna look at the trivia and see what it is. I misremembered it.
It's a muskrat.
No, they call it a muskrat in the movie, but it's actually something else, according to the trivia. And for some reason, I remembered it differently. I remembered the guy putting the knife under the jaw and popping out the top of the head while it was screaming. That's how I remembered it. It's not how it is in the film. In the film, they just cut the arteries in the throat to kill it.
Yeah, but the thing is like fucking yes, it's horrible. It's horrible.
I think anything's gonna scream before it gets killed. But let me see how many animals get killed in this film before we get back into the actual movie.
They cut off like a monkey's head and
that was hardcore. I remember seeing that too, but then I forgot it.
Snake.
Okay, here we go. According to IMDb, the animal deaths in the movie were real. The list of dead animals include a coatimundi, a yellow-spotted river turtle, a snake, a tarantula, a young pig, and 2 squirrel monkeys. The monkey killing scene was shot twice. So the 2 monkeys were killed for that scene. The dead animals were given to the tribes for food. I immediately noticed that there was a difference in the monkey killing scene because the first monkey, and it's the cute type of monkeys. It's not like the ugly monkeys.
Right.
It's like the really cute sort of squirrel. Is it squirrel monkey, right? And like they put it down on top of a branch and they chop its face off. And I was watching and looking at. I noticed that the hand that was holding it was bleeding. So maybe I guess the monkey might have bit the guy. And then when it cut to the next part where he's taking the monkey's face off, the hand has no blood on it. So I guess for some reason, they killed 2 different monkeys.
What's fucked up about it is that, like, so, I mean, obviously it's already fucked up enough that they're killing animals, like, live on thing. But, like, you know, you can't judge an actor if the actor is raping someone. It's like, okay, he's an actor, they're acting, but the actor is literally killing animals and gutting them like really cruelly, and then like acting like happy about it after like they.
Yeah, there were 2 people. Well, I guess things were different back then in the 80s, right?
Yes, I don't know.
They were a few years off of RoboCop. They had all that anger in them. I think only the American actors killed like the pig, right? The guy with the shotgun.
I mean, at least that's like a quick death. Jesus.
And they killed the turtles too. What am I talking about? So they killed
the turtles and they killed the muskrats.
I remember it was 2 things because the main guy, the main asshole guy out of the documentary crew, he was supposed to have a big monologue. Which is the
main one. They're all horrible.
Right. Yeah. He was supposed to give a big monologue after they shoot the pig in the head and kill it, and he fucked up the take. Because he heard the pig cry and he just couldn't go through with the monologue. It threw him off. He heard the pig actually die, so I guess like he just mumbled it, and you can see it in the movie too. So they didn't want to redo it because they could only kill 1 pig per day.
That's the original mumblecore, maybe like real reactions.
And then one of the other guys, when they killed the turtle, one of the actors began crying because he was like so disturbed by what they had to do for the movie.
Yeah.
Anyway, so. Might as well just go through all the animal deaths because they were really fucked up in this movie.
Yeah, to me that was like
the worst being the spider, right? I mean, how terrible! What a death for that spider. I thought that was fake, but I guess why would they fake a spider getting killed, right?
I mean, I guess a spider counts as an animal.
Yes, and let's see, it's okay. So listed animals, the coatimundi is that little rat-looking animal that gets stabbed through the neck, which is really fucking heinous. That was like really horrible. Yeah, the turtle is the most graphic one because they're just pulling it apart. It's disgusting. I don't remember the snake for some reason, even though I literally saw it yesterday. Tarantula, a young pig.
What's the point of showing that besides just like shock value type of thing?
Yeah, it's weird because, and there's actual people getting killed in the movie too. Like when they're showing, there's a big twist reveal that there's 2 actual twist reveals that the documentary crew that goes missing. they they staged most of their material.
Yeah.
And which is a point made in the film. You can watch it. Although it's two different ways of staging because they paid the army to do stuff. And in the mini footage of what the hell, it was called Introduction to Hell or Escaping Hell or something like that.
Green Inferno.
Huh? No, not the Green. What are you smoking? No, it was the movie that they had within the movie. It
No,
was called
they
Something in Hell.
call it Green Inferno. That's what the name Green Inferno comes from. Is this movie?
I'm not talking about the movie. I'm talking about the documentary that the fake documentary that the documentarians made.
Oh, okay.
They made the one about Africa. You know where they're shooting African people left and right, and actual people get killed in that scene. Like there's actual death, like when they're public execution guys. I was like really fucked up. And anyway, so the one reveal is that they stage most of their stuff. Although it's two different types of staging. They must have paid the army to actually kill those people. This is probably obviously it's news footage that they used, and they're just using it in film as like the characters did that. And then also they actually burned down that village with the people inside the house. So I guess there's two ways. There's one way of staging it where you don't kill people, and one where you horrifically kill people. So
what's the guy Geraldo Rivera that would like pretend he was in war scenes and shit, and like, but he wasn't, and he just had like sound effects and stuff of bombs near him.
Really? I know there were two or three news reporters like that.
I won't get into politics, but a certain
there was one
presidential candidate pretended that they were under sniper fire once too, and like made up a whole lie.
There was a guy on he used to be on NBC. He was like a bigwig news reporter, and he used to tell these big bullshit stories that he was in war all the time. So they kicked his ass off to MSNBC. He was Brian Williams, that guy. He's an idiot.
I've heard of that name.
Yeah, he's the father of the girl from Get Out. You know the lunatic chick.
Okay.
Anyway, so this film starts out with this professor. Actually, it starts out in the streets of New York. Here's the thing: I forgot what this movie was about because I didn't really know what the story was about. I thought it was just about documentary crews going into the jungles and looking for, talk to tribes and stuff.
Yeah, I totally forgot that it was like actually.
I forgot it was
basically Night of the Living Dead, but like with cannibals or something.
Yeah, it's like two different.
Like who's the worst one? You know.
It's two different films. Essentially, it's two different films. It's like the first half is a narrative, and then the second half is a found footage movie. So you had asked me before this episode, was this the first found footage movie? I was like, no, it was Peeping Tom. Remember the movie we saw about the British guy who was like filming girls before he killed them and stuff like that?
Yeah.
He was like, hello, I'm gonna kill you. That's exactly how he sounded in that movie.
But I mean, yeah, I guess, kind of, but this is more what we think of with found footage.
Of course, yeah. This is because they actually find the footage in this movie. We were watching the movie in real time in that film. I had a bizarre thought before. It had nothing to do with this episode, but I was like, do you think Pee Wee Herman, when he was jerking in the movie theater, he did that because he couldn't do it in his house because his house was alive? You think he would try to start?
He was like jerking off in Cherry, and she's just like Pee Wee.
He's like, "Hey Pee Wee, what are you doing?"
And then I'm
trying to jerk off.
Conky comes up like he's like, and then you see the guy like he's like,
the king
hi, of Pee Wee, make it like a hi, make a oh.
And Conky's like, Pee Wee, what are you doing? He's like that. And then the king of cartoons, the old black guy with the big crown.
Yeah.
He's like,
and that lady comes in with the trumpet to announce him and everything.
Yes. He turns on the TV and it's a cartoon of Pee Wee jerking off.
And there's like, what's that guy, Randy, the one that's like a ventriloquist doll, and he's like the bad one. He comes down and like watches his dick.
Oh boy, I'm glad I thought of that. Anyway, so this film starts out with a professor. Actually, starts out with the news report of these four documentarians that go missing. Mm-hmm. One of them is Alan. What the hell is his name? Whatever. One guy's called Alan. He's like the main guy of that group. There's Alan. There is
Faye, Jack.
Faye, Mark. Is it Mark?
Yeah, Mark and Jack.
Yeah, and Faye's the resident.
I think Jack is the guy with the giant mustache.
Resident female in the movie. Hey, you know what? You get actually, I was going to say you get penis per vagina in the film, but no, you actually see more naked women than you do guys in the film. But it's shocking for me to see
about
guys.
That. You see a lot of dicks in this movie.
Listen, there was a part where I thought I was going to get arrested for the movie because you're watching them walk into the tribe and there's naked, like, 10-year-old girls, and I was like, uh-oh. I was like, I better turn off my computer. I'm scared.
You think they really were though? I don't know.
You didn't see what they were kids. They were fucking children. That happened in the Museum of Natural History. There's like a thing about like rituals around.
What is art versus history or whatever?
No. I was in the Museum of Natural History and I went down. There's some level down. I'm sure every fucking pervert that's gonna listen to this episode is gonna go over there now. There's like a place where they show. It's about different like rituals and tribes and stuff, and getting into malehood and womanhood. And there's like a big giant like photo of like a naked like 9-year-old girl, and I'm like, what the fuck is going on? And like, I immediately thought like they probably put a camera there for like the guys that stay a little bit too long,
right?
It's like
and there's like another camera at like waist level.
And I was like, dude, I stopped by and I was like, what the fuck? And I just like walked by because I literally can't do anything.
You thought it was like a real little boy.
Yeah. But it's terrible. But yeah, they were naked kids.
Maybe imagine it's not an exhibit. There was just like some real little kid like wandering around.
But
actually, speaking of very off topic, guys, if you happen to go to the Met Brower, I think that's what it's called, the Met Brower.
Incredible.
There's a museum. There's an exhibit there, and it's like animatronic, and I didn't know, and I actually thought it was a real person, like breathing and.
Oh yeah, the Met Brower. I don't know how long that it's gonna be. It's like the human.
Brower.
It's about the human. No, it is the Met Brower. It's about human anatomy and stuff. If you're in New York City, really check out the Met Brower. It's really interesting.
Yeah, it has like a perfectly real person sleeping, and then the fucking sheets move like it's breathing.
There are like these life-sized statues in there, and there's like one of this woman like it's Sleeping Beauty, actually. That's what the piece is called. And I don't know when it's going off. We saw it like 3 months ago or something.
Definitely check it out if you're in New York City.
And it's like breathing. It's very subtly like the mechanics, and it's in the old statue too. But it's actually has like stuff in it moving, so it looks like it's breathing, like very very
fucking
like
cool, man. It's scary.
And I looked at it. I was like, "Ooh!" I went like that, and then I think you saw it too, and you got shocked as well because it was fucking frightening.
I jumped a little bit, like
scary, and
the security guard made fun of us.
He was he was like that. Anyway, so these 4 documentarians disappear in the Amazon because they're trying to. I don't know the name of the tribes. There are very specific names of the tribes that I did not pay attention to. They're basically the East Side, West Side tribes in the Amazon.
Yanomamo and Shamatari.
Okay, good. Which one are the tree or is the tree people their own people or something
there's
like that?
There's 3 tribes, actually.
So the tree people are their own people, right?
Yeah, and like one leads them to the 2 warring cannibal tribes, and then they basically scare away. They protect one of the cannibal tribes that they knew that the kids were going to be documenting by shooting at the other tribe, and then gain their trust to get the reels, basically.
Yeah, so there's 3 different tribes in this. There's
Yanomamo, Shamatari, and then another one, Yakimo.
And I think they were all afraid of white people, but then once these white guys were pushing their shit, they had enough of it, and they said, "Fuck you."
Yeah, who could fucking blame them? Look at these.
No, I don't blame them. Yeah, that's the interesting thing about this film is that, like, just watching it from what you hear about it, you think it's just, especially from the poster, you think it's exploitative, and it is. It is an exploitation film. There's no doubt about it, but it actually has a very distinct message about it. Like,
even the fucking lady in New York, it's like a great point. Like, this fucking lady is like, but how could we make money off of it?
It's about exploiting other. It's about exploiting other cultures. Like essentially, it's an SJW movie before SJW, without the trappings of all that bullshit that goes on with it. Is these like 4 white people that come down to another country, and they destroy it, and then they start taking video of it, like if it like it happened without their doings. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Not that the tribes are like good; they're fucking cannibals.
This is not to indict the white people or some shit like that. It's just what this movie is, and it's just interesting how it's like played out because it's very grotesque. It's exploitative.
Yeah, I'm like actually rooting for the fucking tribes.
Because then like it makes me really think about. I ended up seeing The Green Inferno, and that was a movie that I really wanted to see because it was Eli Roth who directed it.
Yeah.
And I had
And he
seen it, and I was
apparently
like,
featured the director of this movie in Hostel 1 or 2 or something.
"Oh, did he? Oh, okay."
Yeah.
And I remember being really disappointed with that movie, and I was like, "Oh, this movie is inspired," because they say the name of the movie is Green Inferno, and they originally Cannibal Holocaust was supposed to be called the Green Inferno. Then they decided, we want to sell tickets.
They refer to the land as the Green
Yeah, it's Green Inferno. They say it about like 8 times in the movie.
Yeah.
And they decided to call it Cannibal Holocaust because I was going to sell tickets more. And it's actually a better title, I think. And the Green Inferno by Eli Roth, I didn't like it at all. And comparing the two, there's no fucking comparison. Like,
Okay.
Cannibal Holocaust is a fucking class. Like, it really is a classic. Like,
Yeah.
it
is a good movie. I will never watch it again.
this movie is extremely unsettling, and it's not just because of the gore and all that stuff. It's just the mood and the sound and the theme, the music in it. Because it has that. I really love the theme song from the movie, and I always forgot because it sounds like a love song, Yeah. And I guess it's supposed to play like that because you see the beautiful, lush, jungle and shit like that in the beginning of the movie. And it was funny because I was watching Sci-Fi Channel's Channel Zero. The latest season was called Butcher's Block, which was a good season. And they had this song at the beginning of the first episode. And I was like, how do I know this song? I was like, is this Cannibal? It was the Cannibal Holocaust theme. They used it in yeah, because I guess the whole show had to do with eating people or some shit like that, whatever. But it was interesting to see, and the music is really good in this. But it's like weird synth, like Italian sort of score, but I just can't. It's just an unsettled. Besides that theme song, it's more
Imagine Dario Argento did it, and it'd be like all like hair metal. And like guitars and shit.
Well, Dario Argento Dario Argento dealt with synths, really. He did do metal, but he did do synths a lot more.
I feel like he did a lot of like metal and shit.
But the soundtrack to this movie was more that boom, 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 boom. Every time you heard that, something bad was going to happen in the movie. Like really gross. So anyway, this we're really like going off course. It's already 21 minutes in. So the professor goes, him and his groups, there's some like... the two guys that he meet, I know you were upset because 10 minutes into the movie they were like changing, they were talking in a different language and there were no subtitles.
Oh yeah, that was weird. Yeah, it like switched language. There wasn't subtitles, so I was like.
By the way, I didn't tell you this, but online on YouTube there is an edit of the film without the animal deaths.
No, I knew there was.
Oh, okay, that's why
I wanted to.
I
watch
was like,
the real
fucking
version.
Danny. I was like, if I had to watch this, he has to watch the uncut version. I'm sure there's an even more uncut version than this.
No, they have like several versions, but I wanted to watch like the real version.
Yeah, because the guy that I know didn't want to see it because there's animal deaths. And I was like, on YouTube you can actually see it without the animals getting killed, and. Literally within the movie itself, those scenes serve no purpose other than to shock because they're like, it almost feels like the movie pauses and there should be a guy that comes out and announces says, "Hey, we're gonna kill animals right now." Like that's what he just should say. Like because like it seems like
it's like you're not sure that these are horrible people yet. You think that they're maybe just living in the jungle and like adapting to jungle life or something.
Like at most most of the animal murders go on for like a minute. Like less than 40 seconds, right?
Now
but it feels long. The turtle scene, the turtle scene is nearly 2 minutes long. Like I couldn't even. I was just like, I actually didn't watch. I put my hands in front of my eyes
when I was watching. Like, oh man, like.
I put my hands in front of my eyes in front of the turtle scene because I didn't want to see the eyes blinking because for some reason that really disturbed me. Like I could see all the organs and all that bullshit because I watch fucking Andrew Zimmern and Travel. What the hell is that? Bizarre Foods. I can watch that. But the turtle's face blinking really gets to me. There's stuff that I can just not look at anymore, like R. Bud Dwyer shooting himself in the mouth and killing himself. I can't eat French onion sun chips because I saw Faces of Death when I was eating that. And even though I think most of that movie's phony, whenever I eat a French onion sun chip, I think of that fucking movie, and I'm like, oh,
you know what used to be the worst? There was a website called Consumption Junction.
Oh, yeah, no, I remember that. And Rotten.com.
Rotten.com and also Strangeland or something. And
Strangeland was a movie.
No, I know it was a movie.
No, Strangeland, the website, I think, still was the movie. It was nothing to do with, like,
No, there was, like, a...
Really? It was an actual...
I'm pretty sure there was... Or it was called something strange. Like, I'm
you sure it wasn't like D. Snyder and you just click the screen and
every
rush,
every video is just like D. Snyder like sleeping, D. Snyder eating, like,
and you just keep saying what a rush, what a rush.
People watch it like, oh my god, this is terrifying.
But so The first part is them trying to be nice with the tribes, meeting the tribes, eating drinking that fucking booze that was made out of the women spitting the white shit into the real gross shit. That's why it feels real. It actually feels like the acting in this movie is horrendous. But by the main four people,
not by the documentary.
Yeah, no, the documentary crew is a horrible bunch of actors.
Not by the professor. The professor.
Yeah, the professor and everybody else. Everybody else except for the main four people are terrible actors. And maybe that guy who's Amazon's son was shot in the leg. Remember the one when he first meets the professor? Yeah. He's like, "Who mahuda hada mahuda bada buda buda," and he's like doing crazy pantomime.
Right.
Anyway, the main four people sucked as actors, but everybody else was actually pretty good. And remember that
I thought
awesome
the girl
scene?
Was good, actually. Not good, but like okay.
Are you sure? Are you saw the same movie as me, or?
I mean, better than that really bad guy.
The only part she was good is when he joins in to rape that Amazon woman, and she tries to stop him, and she was angry. Why that woman is fine with her three male friends, two guys raping that woman, and then she's like gets upset because her boyfriend raped somebody else. Like, well, why wouldn't you just be upset with everybody? Like,
because she's a sociopath.
But I understand it. Why would four people who are documentarians make a pact to do this? One or two people, I could. Okay, Charles Manson had a group of people. I could understand that. But these are like
four. You hear stories about Vietnam, like lots of people did shit like that.
Yeah, well, I heard one of the spookiest stories. There was I was watching an interview with this guy who was a cannibal, or he killed women or something like that. And this woman was interviewing him about it, and he said he was in Vietnam and he used to tie women up to trees and cut them open while they're alive because he was like a psychopath. So I guess he could run wild in Vietnam.
Yeah, well, I mean that's what happens when you have a giant world power that invades other countries for no reason.
Just like this movie. It's just about
like this movie. This movie's small scale America.
So remember that guy, the Latino guy that they're with. He actually gets naked, and I was like, wow, he gets naked. The other guy gets naked. He's like in the. I didn't understand why he was getting naked.
So a wiener get cut off.
So that was hardcore. I remember that too when I was younger and I saw that. And then they actually, those girls that go up and are frolicking with the professor in the water.
Yeah, that scene's actually cute.
They were actually prostitutes that they hired for the scene. So that's why
really?
They grabbed his dick and stuff like that. So it's just
that's
pretty cool.
Funny.
Anyway, they end up finding the guts of everybody else in some weird sort of shrine.
There must be a lot of trivia for this movie.
It's not too much trivia.
The director got arrested. They thought it was a snuff film, and apparently all the actors were under contract. They had to stay hidden until their contract expired, and then they came out to get the guy out of jail by.
Hey, that's some good planning ahead of time for the film. But I would believe that shit too. I mean, if you look at it now, the blood looks so fucking fake in this movie. It's really cheap effect, but everything else looks great. The girl impaled.
All the found footage stuff looks real to me.
But the blood on the girl impaled, the blood on her looks so fucking phony. But her impale looks real, but the blood doesn't, which is bizarre because it looks horrifying. The part where they're cutting that guy's dick off, I was like, gee, when I first saw it, I was like, oh my god, even though I know it's a fucking movie, I was questioning, and that was when I was younger. But even watching it today, I was like, they look like they really cut that guy's dick off.
I thought because it was
because the way they pull the penis and it stretches out like a real penis does. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You ever grab another? I mean, when you grab your own penis, but they cut that off.
The thing is, if you watch it in the context of a movie, and you're a police officer, and you see they're clearly killing a real animal.
Yeah.
And this is before CGI and shit, way before all that.
So can you imagine a police officer in Italy, and you know how he has his fingers crunched up?
Hey, I'm gonna like this.
I can't believe this. They really cut that guy's dick off for a movie. Oh, mamma mia! I can't believe this. And then
Mario comes out of a pipe and he's like,
and he grabs a mushroom and he becomes 15 feet tall. That's crazy. If you really think about it, Super Mario Brothers. Mario is in this country or whatever, this other universe where there's animals that are bigger than him, and then he takes a mushroom and he's imagine you ate a mushroom, you became 15 feet tall. Can you imagine how frightening that would be? Anyway,
I like to think about the idea of if humans were the way dogs are, because we have different size humans, but we don't have somebody that's the equivalent of Chihuahua and then a Great Dane. That would mean that it'd be like, you know, a midget versus like somebody who's like 30 feet tall or something.
How does that work? Like, how are dogs
because
so
they were
different?
bred over and over and over.
No, I understand
and over
they're bred differently,
traits.
but what are they like? Because dogs are obviously offshoots of wolves, right?
Yeah, so they'll take a wolf and we want more of this wolf that's like more reddish hair until
how does a wolf become a pit bull, or how does a wolf become a fucking Dalmatian?
Because it's an experiment over like fucking.
That isn't. But I mean, there's so many
like
different types of dogs. That is so insane looking. I mean, like if you really
there's like it's like a fucking our entire like different tribes and shit and with like. We just basically had a gigantic worldwide breeding program of dogs, to my understanding, for like thousands of years. Like, this is what happened. It's awesome.
Well, yeah, and I guess
like engineered to be our best friend. It's great.
And I guess humans are much more like they're more like, you know, standoffish with each other than instead of besides, you know, the scumbags that would rape, you know, people back then. Yeah. The other ones, they would probably just want to keep it in-house. Like, you know how China locked itself... Was it China or Japan that locked itself for 100 years? Oh, boy. My ignorance of history. It might be Japan.
I think it's Japan. But you know what? We're doing that now. And we're even building a giant wall. It's great.
MAGA, right? Is that what they say? The kids say these days?
Isolation is always historically great.
So this leads to them finding this footage. And, I mean, there's a lot. It wasn't even what's the first thing that we see really is that woman being sexually assaulted by, and that was I think
she's not being assaulted, she's being murdered.
Well, besides that, yeah, assaulting to death. That's what I meant to say. I guess she cheated on her Amazonian husband. I'm sure he wasn't a pleasure.
Oh, is that what that was? I didn't really know.
Yeah, he says that in the movie. He says, "Oh, it looks like a ritual for I don't know how the fuck you just randomly guessed that a ritual for what the hell is adultery." And this guy takes what is he doing? He's raping her with a piece of wood
or something.
Yeah, he's raping her with something like some phallus-shaped object, and then he takes like a piece of mud and which he puts like pieces of shards of something in it, and then he shoves it in her vagina, and then he bashes her head in, and then puts her in a fucking canoe and throws the canoe into the water. I was like, holy Lord. I was telling, after I saw this, like, that's not funny, but I was thinking of, like, showing this to Thea from Har Harbor. I was like, there's absolutely no way she would ever, not alone for the animal shit.
I told her, like, a lot of women should see this movie.
Yeah, if you have the stomach
for
it,
really
yeah.
Sensitive about women, about animals and shit, like,
because it's obviously not.
I'm never gonna watch this again.
It's not showing rape in a positive light, not that I could tell, and I don't. It's doing it in an exploitative, and it's doing it in an exploitative way, but it's in an exploitative way where it's like grotesque.
Yeah, there's like fucking like, I don't know, like probably like 7 rape scenes in this movie.
Yeah, there's plenty of rape in this movie. It's actually very
cannibalism is like actually the least of the worst.
Yeah, cannibalism at least serves a purpose. There's not even that
much cannibalism in it.
Because the main documentary crew end up raping this one woman, and then I don't know whether, but she was that's the question too. They don't know whether, well, we don't know whether she was killed by that crew or her own tribe killed her. Because you actually see one of her tribes looking at them while they're raping her in the trees. In the bush. And it's so interesting how they played off like those guys the documentary crew are fucking psychopaths because they're just like smiling. Yeah. The guy has to remind them to look like like this is horrible, and he's like, oh, this is terrible, and they're looking at that obviously very iconic image of her impaled. It's interesting to have 4 antagonists sort of be the main focus in the second half of this film.
There's actually only antagonists in this movie.
But the professor's not really an antagonist.
Yeah, I guess that's true. But
the main 3 people in the beginning aren't really antagonists.
But it's basically like insane white people versus like cannibals.
Yeah.
But I mean, I guess the cannibals in a way they're not like bad. They're just doing their thing.
They're just doing it, and that's what makes it so sort of because they don't come off as sadistic. The cannibals,
yeah, like they're just primitive.
The cannibals in Eli Roth's Green Inferno are just out and out like cartoonishly sadistic. Like they're just monsters. Like they actually look cartoonish and shit. Right. They look like cheap versions of the I don't know. Did you see the King Kong? Peter. I was gonna say Peter Kong.
I did.
Peter whatever made like a. He did a version with. He was scared to like cast, I guess, because in the original King Kong it was like African natives at the. It was very like cartoonishly African people in the original
Yeah.
King Kong. So in this one, he had just white people, like I guess Australian people. I mean New Zealanders with body paint to give them gray skin, but they were clearly like white people. Yeah. And because I'm sure he would have been like, they would have called him a racist if he used any black people for that scene. And in this, like, they aren't like that. Like, they're just people doing their own thing, and then the outsiders come in and start fucking their shit up. And I like the portrayal of the tribes, of the Amazon tribes, because they're just doing their own thing. They're not necessarily evil people. They're just, I mean, they eat people, but that's if you, and they have the, well, I mean, they're evil in a way that, like, in a way that they're not,
I mean,
they're not necessarily thinking of women's rights.
Kill women if they cheat on
them.
Yeah,
that's the part where it's not. That's the part where they're sort of evil because they're kind of stupid in that way. But they're like assaulting women every 5 seconds.
I see them more as like, primitive. Like the way you'd see like a caveman or something.
Right, they're
like,
primitive.
It's just like a primitive cannibal tribe.
The Last Road to Hell is the name of the
modern society.
The Last Road to Hell is the name of the small documentary movie that they made. Anyway, so we're basically seeing these 4 people tear ass through the Amazon jungle. They actually burn down a whole fucking village and kill some people. They're just attacking people left and right. And I thought it was really interesting to see these psychopaths as the main people. Because I'm sure there are like horror films where we're following evil people. And we know they're dead from the beginning of the film. So we're just watching to see why they did it. And I guess it's more of a justification. So it's almost like a switcheroo. Like we're thinking, oh, these poor 4 documentarians went off and they got killed by the savages when they themselves were fucking animals.
Dad, and the dad's like, he's horrible, blah, blah, blah. I was like, oh, his dad sounds like a real asshole, but no,
yeah, so
I understand.
So like it shows you that these people kind of did themselves in. Like I don't understand the idea of going to another country that you have absolutely no idea, or like just by looking in the opening credits when you see the jungle overhead, and I was like, we could be killed. Like, you know, we could get bitten by a fucking spider and get killed. You know what I mean? It's like, because like, oh, okay. Now I remember when the snake gets killed, when it bites their guy, and they have to chop his leg off. That's when you see a real cut in the footage because it shows his leg and the knife about to come down. Then it cuts to like a dummy leg getting cut off. Yeah, it's really interesting. I wonder if they would have pulled that shit with him there. Do you know what I mean? Because he was just a guide. I'm sure like they probably would throw him some American money and he'd do it, but it was still interesting to see how depraved these people are.
They
like,
killed him or something.
But you can tell that they were thinking of shit to put in the movie. Like Deodato was like, "Hey, let's put this pregnant woman having her fetus ripped out, and they throw it into the water for a crocodile to eat it or whatever." Stuff like that. There's obviously it's exploitative, but I really fucking like the movie. Like, you have to have a stomach, honestly, for this type of film.
Yeah, I don't know if I do have the stomach for this type of film.
There really is no other film like this in the sense of the tone. I'm sure I haven't seen many cannibal films. I got to be honest with you. But
this is probably the only one we've seen that has actual like multiple real murders of animals on it.
I can see why this film is a classic. Do you know what I mean? It feels like a classic film. Like this, it must have blown people's minds when they saw this shit in the theater. Like, this is a disgusting. Well,
it was banned.
Right. It's a disgusting fucking film, and I use that in a good and a bad way. I don't promote what they did in the film, like killing the animals. But they used the animals at least to feed the tribes people, which is fine. But it still fills you with that little queasy feeling of, you know, hey, let's just kill this whatever these creatures
also,
are.
he's kind of like...
That monkey getting his face off, and then the fucking guy sucking the inside of the face out. That was hardcore, man. Ugh. That was hard motherfucking core. Like, jeez. This movie's grotesque, but it's a good movie. It's a classic, and I can see why it's considered a classic film, because this is like...
Just be careful if you watch it.
Because like when we saw like a Serbian film, like everything's phony in that movie, like the
that is a fucked up movie.
The raping of the baby and stuff like that. But it feels safe because I can step out of it and see that it's a try-hard, you know, sort of
exploitation. There was some stuff in there that was like, oh my god. But like, no matter
this
how,
is
like Antichrist, actually, there's a scene or two that like...
Oh, yeah.
I mean, don't say it.
I don't think Antichrist has anything that's really... well, you know, people...
No, Antichrist has one scene in there that is this is the worst thing I've ever seen. But like...
What he took on the hammer to the dick, right? And then also her cutting her clitoris off. The clitoris stuff was
don't
horrible.
spoil it.
Oh, please. Anyway.
What if people haven't seen it? That was the whole point. Don't spoil it.
This that was like the main selling point in that movie. What are you talking about? With their genitals getting fucked up. But this is a movie where like it feels slimy. Like you feel like you need to take a shower after you see it because it's so fucking gross. Like it's a gross movie, but it's really compelling. I don't know how that works out like that, but for me, as somebody who I appreciate a good film. You know what I mean? Even, no matter what's in it. And I can see what they were trying to do with it. And maybe, we might be reading a little bit too much into what they meant. Maybe they were just making a shocker film. Because Deodato said that he was...
I definitely got, like, a feeling of, like... it's, like, definitely going for, like, a George Romero type of, like, who's the real monster type of thing.
Because Deodato said a couple of times that he was ashamed that he made this movie and wished he never did it. He wished he had never killed animals and shit like that.
Yeah.
For the movie. But, I mean, that's, like... past tense, like what can you do? It's like you already did it. Actually, you filmed it. What are you gonna do about it?
Yeah, and the whole fucking movie summed up the last thing. The professor like asks who the real cannibals are.
Yeah, and it's apparently that the tribes had those things tattooed on the back or scarred in the back of their neck. Apparently, there's a truck at the end of the film that has one of those images driving by when they say that line. So I don't know what that means. Maybe imagine you see a corporate building, and then you see Amazon people with business suits on, and they're just like eating. All right, that wasn't a good joke. Anyway,
by the way, the professor, his porn name was Arbola.
Oh yeah,
Richard Bola, which is slang terms for penis and testicles. I never heard those terms.
Bola is balls.
Oh, dick. I get it. What's Bola?
Balls, like bolas, mis bolas.
Oh, I get it. Are you speaking from a different dimension right now? Where are you?
Wait, R is penis?
Richard is dick,
Oh, I see. Richard Bola. Very funny. They're geniuses. You have any favorite porno names? I got one.
I really liked Bridget the Midget.
There was a guy called Michael J. Cox. That's a good fucking porno name. I remember seeing, I used to read newspapers, I would look at the porno titles in newspapers, they would show how, they still had porno movie titles when I was a kid.
Inside Debbie's Ass, or,
That's a little too explicit. They had one called Snatch to the Future, and big dick and little vagina. It's like Big Trouble in Little China.
There's this, one of the National Lampoon movies, Senior Trip. The guy on the principal, he's watching one called Forest Humps.
Anyway,
stupid.
It was so funny. I was looking for all these people, all the actors on YouTube, and there was a reunion between the main asshole guy and the girl who gets naked in the movie. It's very nice. She's very well for that thin body. Even the Spanish guy had a nice body. Everybody has a nice body in this movie. And, they're, nowadays, it's how many years later? 30, 40 years, almost 40, nearly 40 years later. And they're, the guy comes up to her, he goes, hey, it's me, whatever. And she goes, oh, hi. And they just shake each other's hands. And the people who filmed it were, disappointed. They were expecting them to, get up and, hug each other. Because she says, the girl in the movie, the evil fucking woman in the movie, just like the evil guy, she said that they really had sex in the film. And the guy actor was like, no, we didn't have sex in the film. I have a girlfriend back home. So, he really fucked her. He really fucked her in the Amazon jungle. He was calling his girlfriend back wherever she was. And no, it's real boring here. Meanwhile, he's fucking this woman on set and stuff like that.
He's cutting open turtles. He's fucking women.
He's having the time of his life. His girlfriend's probably like, oh, what'd you do? Nothing, not really. I just saw the jungles and shit. And then she sees the movie and then she fucking ate a bullet. Because I can imagine, or ran out the house. I mean, anyway, you get to see these four bastards get killed. Actually, you only see three of them get killed. One of them disappears. You don't see what happens to them. But that was satisfying, right? And I don't know, what was the reasoning of why they did not want to show this movie, or the documentary of them killing Amazon people?
Because they murdered people to make the documentary.
I know, but what if that exposed those people? So
we're supposed to believe that
they
have a consciousness.
Oh, I thought that would expose those people for being shitheads.
Conscience.
Conscience.
No, they didn't. The point wasn't to show that they're shitheads. The point was to show this rare tribe that no one's ever seen. Like, that was
Okay.
the point of the documentary, and this is a guy who makes documentaries that is, like, renowned for it or whatever, but, like, meanwhile...
I would have just like went out and edited to make it look those 4 people like assholes, like what they really were. That would be a compelling document. Well, whatever. It doesn't make any sense why they destroyed the documentary.
Mainstream
I guess.
TV wasn't ready for that yet.
I guess not. But them shooting Africans like nothing is fine. I guess for people.
Well, no one knew that they didn't have the behind the scenes of that. They just saw a documentary, like as if they were heroes that like documented this or something.
I know. So to expose them would be more interesting. The hell with it. Who cares?
Yeah, but like a mainstream TV
Oh,
executive.
maybe they might get in trouble because they bankrolled it. I guess they gave them the money to do that type of shit. So maybe they're like, yeah, you know what, we shouldn't show this. It was interesting though that they like really changed their tune once they saw that rape scene at the end and they raped that girl and then she got impaled. Like they were like, oof. And then they saw the footage of them. There was a funny part when they cut that guy's dick off. One of the guys in the offices crosses his legs.
I didn't catch that. That's funny.
That was very funny. He was just like, you see him go, ooh, and he just crosses his legs, and then he runs out the fucking office when it's done, and the guy like calls up the projector, goes, burn all the negatives, and he just like, they cut it off.
But then according to the after credits, the guy burning the negatives didn't burn them and sold them for $250,000.
Oh, was it? Oh, I thought it was the professor that got in trouble for it. Oh, okay.
No. The professor wanted them burned.
So apparently this was based on a true story. Deodato saw footage of a documentary crew that went to Africa, a cannibal crew, and then they ended up getting killed. I don't think the documentaries were like the assholes like in this movie, but apparently he saw it, and that's what happened at the end of the film too. Like, you know the part where it says the guy he went to jail and paid like a $10,000 fine for stealing the footage. Like that happened in real life. Like the guy got $250,000 for it. So
yeah, that's what they said in this too.
That's what they say in this movie. So it's really interesting, and it's funny because they put those credits and all that stuff. And
hey, I would fucking make $240,000 profit.
Just hey, look at all this snuff footage. This is hilarious.
To expose bad people.
Yeah, that's true. Oh, but wouldn't you do it for free?
No.
But
no, I want money.
This is the hardest of the hardcore movie. Like, there's no bullshitting. Like, this is a hardcore movie, and I enjoyed it. Do I want to see this movie again? No. I would watch this movie to watch other people watch it.
Nah, it's not even like that. For
I
me.
would
like,
not
that's
have
why
my.
I would me to watch like Serbian film or something.
I would not have. Well, the fucking.
This movie is like even worse than I Spit on Your Grave.
I never saw that movie. I'm not interested.
It's
in
like
fucking
super fucked up.
20 minutes of people raping.
It's more than that. It's like the whole movie is
so
either somebody being
like
raped.
40 minutes of people raping. Good lord!
It's like she gets raped, and then she's wandering through the forest crying, and then she gets raped, and then she's wandering.
Really?
Through the forest.
She's just. I thought it was
like
one
multiple separate rape scenes.
There was this movie from the 80s called it's called Rage Man or Anger Man or something like that. I remember watching parts of it.
That's a good name.
It's a horrible name from the 80s. It's like Revenge Man or some it's like a really stupid name. Yeah. And I remember seeing parts of it when I was a kid. And there's a part where this woman gets raped. I guess she's the girlfriend of the main character, or maybe the sister. I think it's the girlfriend. She gets raped, and it's not supposed to be funny. But one of the guys raping her is a guy in a cowboy hat. He's a big fat guy. I think he's Porky. Remember from Porky's, the movie?
Yeah.
He's not playing Porky in this movie, but he was like playing a rapist. And while he's raping her, he crosses his eyes.
Oh, God.
I was like, what is that? Anyway, so the Revenge Man finds them. Let me just say what this is.
Okay.
He buries one of the guys up to his neck, and then he covers him with honey. And these red ants come up and they eat his face. And at the time when I was a kid, I thought it was looking at claymation. What they do is I saw it recently because I was like, what is this movie? What is this movie? I have to find this movie because I thought I had made this shit up. Obviously my babysitters at the time didn't give a flying fuck because I'm watching a guy getting his face eaten into a skeleton on television, and I'm a child. And so then I watched it again. It's even more disturbing because instead of the guy's real face, they use like a puppet. And it's like ants eating his face, and the face is like falling apart, and it's like because it doesn't feel like real human movements. Go look for that movie. It's called Revenge Man or some shit. Horrible name for a movie, but the rape was not funny. The guy crossing his eyes was very funny though, because it was just so stupid. Hey everyone, Greg Fujimoto here. Just to let you know that the movie is actually called Hate Man or Swift Justice. 1987 is the year it was made. You can actually find it on YouTube under the title of Swift Justice. And if you want to see that particular scene of the ants eating the man's face, it's an hour and 15 minutes and 55 seconds into it. So check it out and enjoy what it is. We went into a lot of tangents in this episode. This is a classic fucking episode, I think. This might be one of our best episodes of all time because it's so stupid.
It's hard to tell.
Fantastic movie. Do not watch this movie if you are quote-unquote easily offended, because this is an offensive fucking movie. Everybody should probably be offended, but this is like... And listen, don't fucking cheer because there's people getting raped and shit like that. That's not cool. It's just...
Don't watch it on a date.
It's phony.
Don't recommend it to people.
I would say watch it with people
know
if you like,
for a fact that they
if
will
you're
not
trying to be
judge
the edgiest guy in the fucking room, so you can be like, yeah, man, yeah, look at the scene, bro, and then you're like looking at your friends, so you're watching the movies, you feel real cool with yourself with your fucking
then you should.
What's about Dave? Who's Dave Mustaine's band? What are they called? Megadeth.
I don't know.
Yeah, Megadeth. You know Megadeth, right?
Yeah, I don't know the music.
You know Dave Mustaine does, because he's a Christian. He doesn't want gay people to get married.
Oh, Jesus Christ!
Fucking
how is the guy from Megadeth like that? What the hell? That's really stupid. What's wrong with people?
What the? Oh, he's like Train of Consequences. Like, I'm doing you a favor by denying you gay people marriage. Such a
now
fucking
probably
nerd.
Never listen to their music.
Megadeth. What an asshole, stupid idiot. Anyway, even if you hate Lars, you can't hate Lars more than you can hate that moron. All right, very good, very good. I feel like we talked a lot in this episode, right?
Yeah.
It's like 50 minutes.
What's your rating?
Holy Lord. I would give this movie an 8. A solid 8 out of 10. I would actually give it a 9, but I'm going to give it an 8. An 8 out of 10. 8 out of 10. Here's time for me to start. There's so much. This is a wealth of shit going on. Okay, an 8 out of 10 being the only girl in the group who's fine with all your friends raping somebody until your boyfriend does it, because then that's crossing the line.
That's crossing the line. Okay, I agree. I'm going to give this an 8. Because it is a well-made movie and it is groundbreaking.
It really, really is. It really, really is. Deodato is very good.
But I can't give it higher because it's absolutely not my type of thing, and I'll never watch it again. But
Humanitarian.
8 out
Danny
of 10.
Dickbags.
Yep. 8 out of 10. Did you call me Danny Dickbags?
Yeah, that's like the first name in your first episode.
Yeah. Okay, cool. I knew that. 8 out of 10. This
guy does not remember anything.
Raping people only to then have your tiny little wiener cut off, stretched out and cut off.
Oof.
And then as a spear is in your chest, and then your own friends kill you so that they could watch as your body is chopped apart by a cannibal tribe.
Deodato did make 2 more cannibal films, so he made like a cannibal trilogy, not necessarily connected to this one. There was, I think, Jungle Holocaust, and I think something called Cut and Run, which has... Did you ever see Charles in Charge?
Yeah.
You know Charles's buddy, Charles's friend Buddy? You know,
Charles himself has gone absolutely mad if you follow his tweet.
The guy who plays Bible Man now? Yeah, he was in the movie, and there was a real explicit scene. The scenes were so explicit. I found it on YouTube. It's on YouTube. You can see it. It's called Cut and Run. And there's a scene where a guy is flayed, or quartered, I'm sorry. He's like tied up to a tree, and then he's split in half. Ew. And you can tell they had to edit in the original footage, which was like shittily like preserved, because it's really graphic of the guy getting split in half, and Willie Ames shoots the guy to like put him out of his misery.
Right.
But it's like... Just by the movie alone,
they should do that to Scott Baio or whatever his name is.
It is nowhere near this type of film. It's just like really cheap exploitation. And then it also has that guy from that big tall guy, the bald guy with the who he was in The Evil Within. You know, the big tall bald guy.
Oh yeah, Michael Berryman.
Yeah, Michael Berryman. He's in it too. He's like playing a lead cannibal, so they don't give a fuck in that movie. So I think Deodato, I haven't seen any of his work, but I would be interested in seeing the other movies, because in one of the other in Jungle Holocaust, there's a scene where a woman gives birth and throws it into the water, and you see an alligator. Well, they use stock footage of an alligator eating something, and they put a sound effect of it crunching down on the baby. Oh man. Oh, the classy movies. Anyway, with that, Danny, what's the final word?
Cannibalism is not cool.
destruction.